Every American is familiar with the name Benedict Arnold. The name alone evokes thoughts of betrayal and treason, yet few truly grasp the full scope of his story. While many think they understand his infamous legacy, the truth is far more complex. What did Arnold really achieve? How was he viewed by his peers and the soldiers under his command? And what ultimately led him down the path of treason? So who was Benedict Arnold? What contributions did he make to the Continental Army? How did leaders like George Washington perceive him? And what led to his notorious act of betrayal? Born on January 14, 1741, in Norwich, Connecticut, Benedict Arnold IV was the youngest of 6 children born to Benedict Arnold III and Hannah Waterman Keene. Of the 6 siblings, only Benedict and his sister Hannah lived to see adulthood. Yellow fever had taken the lives of their 4 other siblings while they were still children. Arnold's maternal lineage, the Keene family, was prosperous and involved in mercantile trade. Unfortunately, his father, who struggled with alcoholism and poor judgment, squandered the family's wealth and estate through failed ventures and reckless gambling. As a result, young Benedict took up an apprenticeship with an apothecary. During the 7 Years' War, also known in America as the French and Indian War, 1756 to 1763, the conflict extended to British and French colonies. Arnold attempted to enlist in 1755, but his mother denied him permission, something he required at that age. By 1757, at 16, Arnold successfully enlisted in the Connecticut militia. His unit was dispatched toward Albany and Lake George in New York. During this period, the French besieged and captured Fort William Henry. Their Native American allies committed gruesome acts against injured soldiers and civilians. When Arnold's commander learned of these events from a rider, he made the decision to turn the troops back. This meant Arnold's first experience in military service lasted only 2 weeks. In 1767, he began a career as a successful businessman and married Margaret Mansfield. They had 3 children together before Margaret passed away in 1775. As tensions rose again, Arnold joined the Continental Army and received a captain's commission from Massachusetts, participating in the battles of Lexington and Concord. Soon after, Arnold teamed up with Ethan Allen and his Green Mountain Boys to take Fort Ticonderoga from British control on May 10, 1775. Separately, Arnold launched an audacious raid on Fort St. John along the Richelieu River. However, upon the arrival of the Connecticut militia at Ticonderoga in June, a dispute over command led Arnold to resign and return home, only to learn his wife Margaret had passed earlier that month. Despite setbacks, Arnold's men stood by him, recognizing his courage in battle. He met with General George Washington in Cambridge, Massachusetts, after the Second Continental Congress approved a plan to invade Quebec, a plan Arnold himself had proposed. Rejoining the army, Arnold was appointed colonel and placed in charge of 1,100 men. His strategy involved navigating the rugged wilderness of Maine, though he stressed that coordination would be essential. Although his idea received support, Arnold was overlooked for the top command role. General Richard Montgomery was appointed instead. Arnold pushed forward anyway, understanding that many of his soldiers' enlistments would expire on January 1, 1776. Arnold reached Quebec City in November after an arduous march, during which 300 men deserted and 200 perished. He joined forces with Montgomery's small contingent in preparation for an attack. With no other choice, Arnold launched a desperate assault through a snowstorm on December 31, 1775. Montgomery joined the assault late. Leading from the front, Arnold was severely injured. A musket shattered his left thigh. Reverend Samuel Spring, the chaplain, carried Arnold to the Hotel Dieu for treatment. Although the surgeon considered amputation, Arnold insisted his leg be saved, and the wound was bound instead. For reaching Quebec, Arnold was eventually promoted to brigadier general. His depleted force maintained a siege until Major General David Wooster relieved him in April 1776. Though the campaign failed with heavy American losses and Canada remaining in British hands, Arnold's leadership endured. Arnold would walk with a limp thereafter, having nearly lost his leg, the same one he would injure again later. He held Montgomery accountable for the failed mission, believing that his absence during the critical flanking maneuver had doomed them. After recovering, Arnold returned to active duty. On October 11, 1776, Arnold led a small fleet into battle against the British near Valcour Island. Despite being outgunned by General Guy Carleton's naval force, Arnold's tactics delayed the British long enough to force their withdrawal before winter. His bold maneuvers prevented disaster and protected the colonial effort. Recognizing this, Washington tasked Arnold with defending Rhode Island after the British took Newport in December 1776, though the local militia lacked the resources for a counterattack. With major operations paused for the winter, Arnold returned home to New Haven, spending time with his children and wintering in Boston. In February 1777, Congress passed him over for promotion to Major General, citing his debt as the reason. This was more than a slight. Many of his fellow officers, some lacking his battlefield courage but well-connected in Congress, were promoted ahead of him. Frustrated, Arnold resigned again. Much of his debt stemmed from personally funding his troops and seeking reimbursement from Congress, which was consistently denied. Some might suspect Congress intended to keep him financially strained as a means of control. Arnold's resignation letter explained his reasoning, but Washington refused it. Appreciating Arnold's capabilities, Washington appealed directly to Congress, promising to advocate for Arnold's promotion and persuaded him to remain in service. Arnold understood the necessity of higher rank for commanding troops effectively. He returned in time to face the British campaign under General John Burgoyne in upstate New York in the fall of 1777. But Arnold found himself under General Horatio Gates, with whom he had a toxic relationship. Arnold correctly predicted an attack on the left flank and requested his troops be deployed there. Gates disagreed, sending Daniel Morgan's men instead. Arnold warned that Morgan wouldn't have time to call for reinforcements if attacked. Tensions escalated, and Gates relieved Arnold of command, handing it to General Benjamin Lincoln. Arnold ignored the order, retook his command, and followed Morgan into position. What happened next is debated in historical accounts, but at the Battle of Bemis Heights, also known as the Second Battle of Saratoga, on October 7, 1777, Arnold's leadership proved decisive. Leading a brilliant assault, Arnold's tactics resulted in minimal American casualties while devastating the British lines. He combined disciplined, traditional tactics with irregular, flanking attacks. Over 600 British soldiers fell to this innovative approach. It was a textbook display of battlefield command, and 10 days later, Burgoyne surrendered on October 17th, a moment that persuaded France to join the American cause. Shockingly, General Gates claimed full credit for the victory in his official report, stating he had led the attack himself. Many officers and enlisted men knew otherwise. In fact, Arnold had been wounded again in his previously shattered leg, a detail that cast doubt on Gates's version. With this second debilitating injury, Arnold accepted an administrative post as the military governor of Philadelphia in 1778. While en route to Philadelphia, Arnold learned that British troops were advancing toward the vital supply depot in Danbury, Connecticut. Still recovering and unable to walk, he rode on horseback alongside Generals David Wooster and Goldselleck Silliman to rally militia forces. At the Battle of Ridgefield, Arnold led a counterstrike, again taking a bullet to his healing left leg. Wooster was killed in the fight. Upon reaching Philadelphia, Arnold carried a recommendation from Washington and a letter addressing his seniority. His performance at Ridgefield, paired with Washington's endorsement and Wooster's death, finally earned him promotion to Major General, though not in seniority above those previously elevated. Arnold also discovered unsettling political maneuvering occurring within Congress and the Army behind his back. As governor, Arnold faced allegations of misusing his position for personal benefit. His marriage to Peggy Shippen, whose father was suspected of loyalist ties, fueled further suspicions. Together, the couple had 5 children and lived extravagantly, incurring steep debts. Yet Arnold's financial troubles weren't purely personal. Many soldiers hadn't been paid despite promises in their enlistment contracts. While other generals secured funds to compensate their men, Arnold was denied. His dedication to his troops led him to liquidate assets and borrow against property to ensure his men, many with families to support, received something. Repeated letters to Congress for reimbursement were ignored. Despite his achievements, Arnold believed he was undervalued. That belief may have had merit. Some peers described him as vain and greedy. One officer claimed Arnold worships money and would betray his country to obtain it. Many of these criticisms came from allies of Gates and only appeared after Arnold's defection. Still feeling marginalized despite promotions, Arnold submitted another resignation on July 11th. Washington again declined to accept it. Though many of Arnold's troops remained loyal, the lack of financial support forced some to leave the Army or join other units receiving payment. It was during this period that Arnold's allegiance began to shift. In 1779, he secretly negotiated with the British, offering to surrender the American stronghold at West Point in exchange for a commission and payment. His correspondence with British officer Major John Andre was often facilitated through Peggy. At the time, Arnold faced a court-martial for alleged profiteering, although no solid evidence supported the claims. Notably, the court didn't acknowledge Arnold's use of personal funds to pay his men, a point his lawyer raised. On January 26, 1780, Arnold was cleared of all but 2 minor charges, but the outcome didn't change his course. On August 3, 1780, Arnold was placed in command of West Point and finalized an agreement with British General Sir Henry Clinton. Once Washington became aware, Arnold fled aboard the HMS Vulture to New York City. From the ship, he wrote to Washington asking that Peggy be allowed safe passage to her family, a request Washington honored. Major Andre was captured and executed on October 2nd in Tappan, New York. Washington deployed men to New York City in an effort to apprehend Arnold, but he escaped, sailing to Virginia in December. For his defection, Arnold received £20,000 and a commission as Brigadier General in the British Army. He subsequently led British forces in raids on Richmond and New London, Connecticut, where he ordered the execution of surrendering American forces near his hometown. In 1782, Arnold and Peggy relocated to London. They attempted to establish a merchant business in Canada with their sons Richard and Henry in 1787, but eventually returned to England. On June 14, 1801, Benedict Arnold died at 60 following a brief illness and was laid to rest at St. Mary's Church in Battersea, London. Thank you for watching Empire History Central. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button for more interesting, detailed history dives.